top 10 grossing movies of this year are all sequels. They're now sustaining the industry, but they're in danger of consuming. So let me scroll down here. This is from Variety by Owen Gleiberman. Owen Gleiberman from EW. Old EW days. I like Owen.
And I say one thing we've seen is a lot of executives my age and older that feel stuck because the people that should be retiring and hand over the reins aren't retiring. And the people that are saying that are the ones that would be likely to take a chance on new things, but instead sequels. The other day, as I was looking up a data point on boxofficemojo.com, I noticed something that shocked me. The top 10 grossing movies of 2024 from Inside Out 2 to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes are all sequels. Every goddamn one of them. Wicked and Moana 2 will soon break into the top 10. And though Wicked isn't technically a sequel, when you consider how many people have seen the original Broadway show, the truth is that the movie version is as much of a sequel as any. It's a kind of the same but also different follow-up to a gargantuan known quantity. It's all part of the deja vu entertainment culture. Reason I was shocked by the fact that I could be shocked by this is that Hollywood has been famously awash in sequels since the dawn of the Reagan era, making jokes about the creative bankruptcy of films with Roman numerals after their title was a wrung-out cliche by 1985. Oh, my birth year. Back then, a sequel rarely lived up to the original, from Staying Alive to Fletch Lives, from Beverly Hills.
I love Staying Alive. I love Staying Alive.
All right.
By the way, I have that on 4K too.
Come on, man. Frank Stallone? Come on.
Yeah.
Frank
Stallone.
Finola Hughes, man. Come on.
I don't
Oh, my God.
Are we going to defend Poltergeist 2, though? I don't think so. Almost all of them were tacky cash grabs. Yet once in a while, you'd see a worthy one. Yes, Alien, Star Trek 2, Terminator 2. Go on. Now, of course, they tend to be much better. In our time, the definition of a sequel, the way the audience thinks of them, has fundamentally changed. Good, bad, or indifferent, they're no longer automatically chintzy rehashes. They are often part of a franchise empire. And even when they tend to be marketed by a certain ambition, an impulse to aim higher and spin themselves less cynically than the old ones did. The old sequels did, yeah. Top 10 movies of 2024 offer a perfect snapshot of that. Inside Out 2, the top grossing movie of the year, is an enchantingly awesome sequel to the last great original Pixar film. Deadpool and Wolverine is a nasty, spectacular, quip-laden fun, far better than Deadpool 2. Despicable Me 4 is arguably the best entry in the series since the original. Beetlejuice is a piece of gothic prankster fan service, but on that level, it delivers. Dune Part 2 is, in the eyes of Dune heads, is superior to Dune. I mean, that's a weird one because that's like one movie, but I'm allergic to all Dune films, but whatever. Twisters isn't nearly as good as Twister, but it's good enough to get by. Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire is meh. Kung Fu Panda 4 is meh. Bad Boys Ride or Die throws off surprisingly sparks of witty energy, and the human-free prequel Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes proved to be one of the most captivating entries in the series. Hollywood sequel culture, in other words, is in reasonably healthy creative shape, and given how much it's now dominating commercially in an industry that's existentially threatened enough to need every theatrical hit it can get, no one in their right mind would dispute the need to make these films. Sequels are luring people into the theaters in a way that the most acclaimed movies of the year, from Honora to Conclave, are not. Where would the current landscape be without them? Is this where we say that they could have done new movies without a bunch of agenda and it would have done good?
Right. Let's pause for a sec. We'll
Thank you.
finish reading it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on what we just heard here.
Well, first of all, Bad Boys Ride or Die was a damn good movie. I had a good time with it. It was fun. Yeah. But I agree with everything he's saying for the most part, though.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else want to chime in?
Well, it just shows the lack of.
It was there was an actor on Hot Ones who spoke about that, saying that Hollywood is afraid to take a chance.
It was Matt Damon. It was Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Yeah,
talking about the loss of DVD sales, that you could take a chance because you'd make it back up with DVD sales, and this is what
Matt Damon.
Ben Affleck is saying they could make up with AI, where You don't like the movie? You want to put yourself in the movie? Go ahead. But that would be a replacement of the DVD sales they lost.
Yeah, they're saying that like they're afraid to take a chance on originality. So the future of Hollywood right now is anything that is attached to a franchise. That way, if it fails, like you can't really place the blame anywhere. It's attached to a franchise. So if it fails, well, it's not our fault. It was attached to a franchise. The fans of the franchise didn't come out to see it. So there's no originality. It has to be attached to a franchise or a sequel or prequel, something like that.
Yeah, that's what Vince Vaughn said, specifically him.
It was Vince Vaughn. It was
Yes.
okay, yeah, Vince Vaughn.
But one of the things too is that the Hollywood studios franchises don't begin as $200 million movies. And all studios are doing now is they're spending that much money because they're making movies for the global marketplace. And what I would say is, if you want to look to something, and I don't know why studios aren't doing this, look at John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
John Wick was a movie that was made for a price with a star, not maybe a mega star, but Keanu Reeves is certainly in his beloved. What was that? Almost 10 years ago that John Wick 1 came out. Look at the cost of the John Wick movies in relation to how much they made. Now you have 4 films, a TV series, and you have a spin-off Ballerina coming out. That's a franchise. And that's a franchise that they created within the last decade, maybe 12 years. I don't know how long. Maybe it was 10 years ago. Maybe it was 12. I don't know. The Hollywood studios do not have anybody working there that understand how to find the next John Wick or the next original franchise that they can shepherd into an IP that becomes 1 movie, 2 movies, 3 movies, 4 movies, because they don't know. You now have a whole generation of people that they haven't read. They can't I want to go, there's a book I read 30 years ago, or a book I read 20 years ago, or a book that's 30 years old that I loved. Let's go after that and make it. There's no one in the film culture that is that person anymore. Maybe there's more working in TV, but not in movies. They don't know how, and they don't know what would perhaps capture the imaginations of audiences today. That's the problem. The only thing the studios can make are sequels, because that's the only thing that their shareholders and Wall Street will let them make. They can't take a risk because even at the studio level, you're still spending 50, 60, 70. I mean, my God, The Matrix was $65 million in 1999. Where's that? Why can't people find people? And also, who we also don't have? Creators.
Yeah.
There are no filmmakers that know how to make brand new franchises. And there's nobody out there. Look, Honora is probably the best movie I saw this year. Honestly, I loved it. No one's going to see that movie because they didn't know how to market that movie. That movie is delightful. It's also edgy and fun, and I love that movie. No one's going to see it. They didn't market it well. But where are the creators? Where's the new Robert Zemeckis making Back to the Future after he worked his way up from I Want to Hold Your Hand to making used cars to finally banging around with? Where is that group of people? We don't have them anymore. There's nobody in Hollywood to make new franchises.
Yeah, my fear is we'll never see a George Lucas type again.
There aren't any because the up and coming filmmakers are not interested. If you can make more money, the people that can become great filmmakers are probably out there working on TikTok, making a shit ton more money than they would make making indie movies that would cut their teeth in the industry.
Yeah.
Right.
That is very true.
There is no incentive for young people to get into filmmaking because filmmaking is no longer. Filmmaking used to be rock and roll. It used to be counterculture. When I was in high school, I could go see Alex Cox making a Repo Man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to make a movie like that. There is no voice for youth in Hollywood anymore. We don't even get good youth movies.
Well, that's because studios don't know how to budget anymore, man. The thing is, you can't take a risk when your bottom budget is $100 million.
Of course, absolutely 100%.
So you can't risk anything. You can't, man. So it has to be played safe, which is why we get all the sequels we've gotten, right? And we'll continue to get them in next year too. That once the studios know how to manage their money better, I think you'll see people taking bigger risks, but they can't do it. John Wick, for all when they got Keanu Reeves on board, he wasn't at the height of his career, man. Nope. In fact, he was kind of on the downslide, man. Like he had before John Wick, there was a big gap between the Matrix and John Wick.
I did that
Right.
Eli Roth film with what's her face? You know, the two girls that capture the king.
Oh, Anna de Armas and whatever.
Yeah, Anna de Armas. Yeah. And
Then he also did he did a romantic movie with Sandra Bullock
the
again.
Lake House.
The Lake House. Yeah, like he did art stuff. I liked him in Thumbsucker. That was a great independent little movie.
But
Right,
that,
but he wasn't doing
I
like
like
big
Lake
box
House.
office
That's a good
stuff.
one.
we don't have filmmakers that know how to make it something that's going to become the next IP. That's the problem.
Let's continue with this story, if you would, Badger, and we'll finish reading.
And yet there's something a little skewed about this picture. I can't recall a moment when sequels crushed the box office this definitively. 15 out of the year's top 20 grossing movies are sequels. The sequelization of Hollywood in the 80s represented a trend all too neurotic in its reality that the industry is becoming addicted to surefire hits had grown more comfortable looking backward than forward. Maybe that was always true to a degree. In the studio system era, Westerns weren't sequels, but hundreds, thousands of them were built out of the same rawhide parts. Superhero movies, in many ways, are the contemporary equivalent. Hollywood has always cannibalized itself, but the thing is, it hasn't just cannibalized itself. The contradiction of sequel culture and the threat of it is that if all you rely on is concepts from the past, you're not going to produce enough of a future. To put it in the industry's corrupt terms, there won't be enough hit movies to make sequels to. Sequel culture contains, by definition, an element of non-sustainability. And when it comes to the trend of making sequels to 40-year-old movies, how many times can we really go back and strip mine the prime nostalgia of films like Top Gun, Beetlejuice? Tom Cruise is said to be trying to line up sequels to Days of Thunder. What's next? Ridley Scott's Legend 2. Sequel culture, like a lot of addictions, is exciting and depressing at the same time. We want that mainline hit of deja vu narcotic, yet with very rare exceptions, we can't go back again. Not fully, not really. Just consider the super ambitious, aiming high sequels this year that didn't entirely work, not because there was any cynicism to their making, but because the movies they were following up were so potent in their originality. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, was an epic prequel to a movie that was better off not having one. Joker, spent most of its courtroom scene chewing over the split personality dazzle of Joker, and Gladiator 2 may have cast the wrong lead actor, but what actor could have matched what Russell Crowe brought off in Gladiator?
If you want to finish this out.
If you want me to.
Yeah.
All right. We all know the fabled list of sequels that are powerfully artful in their own right to the point of possibly being greater than the movies they were sequels to. Godfather Part 2, Empire Strikes Back, The Dark Knight. But the truth is that you can just about count the list of movies on one hand. Sequel culture craves that deja vu nirvana, but like all addictions, it proves a high that eats away at you at the same time. It's sustaining without being nourishing, and the movie industry fights to survive. Any film that helps it do so probably deserves a tip of the hat, but the industry can't ultimately survive unless it figures out a way to make movie culture survive. It will do that only by keeping its eye on the road ahead more than the rear view mirror. I just wanted to say to Robert's point about we don't have creatives. It seems like we had a great deal of creatives and then we fired them all using Me Too as a cover. So maybe we could just get those creatives back, and all the people not hired because they're white and male or straight or whatever and didn't fill out the little survey that was going around. And then that would inspire maybe the younger generation. And
maybe we'd see something creative like this holiday movie, Brightly Shining. Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall on the Hallmark Channel.
Oh.
Brightly Shining. I think we could all agree that that'd be a film that we'd like to see.
By the way, here's a quiz, but what was the last year that the box office wasn't dominated by sequels?
Last year.
I don't know.
Yeah. What was the last year? I have it.
2020? 2020? No.
Nope.
Tell us, Alan.
Last year had some original films, didn't it?
Some, but I'm saying
dominated.
Not dominated.
Dominated at the box office. Alan, tell us.
Here we go. It was the year 2000. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Mission Impossible 2, Gladiator, The Perfect Storm, Meet the Parents, X-Men, Scary Movie, What Lies Beneath, Dinosaur, and Aaron Brockovich.
Dinosaur.
Well,
One.
I love that
Very
movie,
few of
Life
those
Moves.
would get
That
made by
movie's so good.
studios today.
Yep.
Mhm.
And look,
Wow.
how many of these got sequels? Meet the Parents got sequels. X-Men Scary Movie.
Mhm.
Theater.
Well, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
What's interesting about that is you look at What Lies Beneath and The Perfect Storm were also great studio programmers, starring movie stars. Perfect Storm, you had Wahlberg and Clooney. What Lies Beneath, Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. Those were like bread and butter studio pictures that do not get made today at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also
I
look
love that
how The
movie.
Grinch Stole Christmas only made #1, but only made $250 million. 250
In 1999 was also a great year for movies. That Fight Club came out that year.
Yep.
That was one of those epic years. And didn't Rob
And The Matrix.
weren't you involved in a documentary about what year was it? Sci-fi?
82.
1982 was a crazy banner year for like genre film. So
Holy
we're just
hell.
not getting, I just really feel like my sense is because Alan and I go to these awards events and whatnot, they're trying to lobby us for our vote for the CCA. And
Yeah, look at this list. Look at the list of movies in 82.
that's
the
insane.
year for movies.
Read this. E.T., Indiana Jones, Raiders.
yeah, Raiders.
Rocky 3, On Golden Pond, Officer and a Gentleman, Porky's.
Can't
Porky.
do that anymore.
Was a teen sex comedy
That was a great movie.
with a message. With a
And
message
Disney owned
on
it, by the way.
anti-Semitism. It also had boobs. Arthur, Star Trek 2, which was phenomenal. Poltergeist, Chariots of Fire, and First Blood, Conan.
Wow.
That is insane year.
Wow.
82,
Everything.
Rob.
Keep
What is that?
going. Keep going.
Look at
Friday.
that. Sword and the
Insane.
Sorcerer, Reds, Richard Pryor,
Oh!
Richard Pryor, Live on the Sunset
Time
Strip.
Bandits, Taps, Tootsie,
Sharky's
Tron.
Machine, Tron.
Jesus.
Holy
Wow.
hell. You got
Victor-
Blade
Victor-
Runner?
Fast
Runner.
Lane,
Runner.
Victor on High, Blade Runner.
King
Spoiled.
Floyd the Wall.
We
See,
were
it's
eating.
not
We were
that-
eating
it's
so
not
good,
that
man.
The top 10 consisted of
My favorite year
of a
was
large
Peter
box office.
O'Toole.
We were
It-
eating
it's
so
the
good.
number of movies that came out in 82.
There were great movies. Rob, what is the name of the doc and where can we see it?
It's called 1980. It just first of all, it just came out on Blu-ray, but it's called
Okay.
1982, The Greatest Geek Year Ever.
Wow.
Fun fact about Porky's. First time I learned what a glory hole was. Had no
But
idea.
like, hey, wait, stop scrolling. Even if you stop right there, look at you've got Vice Squad, which is a great sleazy movie set in Hollywood. You've got The Verdict, Paul Newman, one of his great performances. The Secret of Nim.
Secret of Nim. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Monsignor was a Christopher Reeve movie. The Seduction was a movie with Morgan Fairchild and Andrew what's his face, the guy from The Fury. Silent Rage, Das Boot, great foreign film. Missing, Costa Gavras film with Jack Lemmon. Class Reunion was I think, is that Rob Lowe and
Yeah.
is that
Andrew
that-
McCarthy.
Andrew McCarthy? Yeah.
Reunion is
The
different.
Disney movie Night Crossing, the pirate movie with Christy McNichol, The Beast Within, like all you go
Megaforce?
down all this list. Yeah,
Megaforce.
it's The Last Unicorn,
Cat people.
Cat People, The Man from Snowy River,
Missionary.
Cannery Row with
Yeah.
Nick Nolte.
Wow.
Like
Yeah,
all
remember
of
when
these-
you used to go to the movies every week? I mean, this was
Right.
why.
And
This
there
is
was
why.
always something at least interesting.
Whose Life Is It Anyway? Wasn't that Richard Dreyfuss and Amy Irving or something?
Yeah.
And by the way, weren't we paying $5 a ticket to see these movies?
Yeah.
Probably
Or
less.
Less
Or
than
less.
that.
Probably less.
Yeah.
And
Oh
all
my
of these are
God.
theatrical, even the sleazy exploitation version.
So when I was a teenager, it was like $5 to see the movies. $5.50.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's they
John
really
Mack is right. Blade Runner and John Carpenter's The Thing were released on the same day too.
Oh, They Call Me
Jesus,
Bruce.
That's crazy.
They Call Me Bruce came out.
Oh, They Call Me Bruce was amazing.
The Border with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
The
Remember Personal
Soldier,
Best?
directed by James Glickenhaus.
even
and,
the movies that
starring
didn't
Ken
perform
Wall.
well were great movies.
Wrong
A lot
is
of these
Right,
movies.
a Sean Connery political thriller that nobody remembers.
Excalibur.
Oh,
Personal Best, a lesbian track and field movie with Margot
Yeah.
Hemingway.
That's right.
wow. This is
Helen
crazy.
Mirren.
Oh,
The
and
Center,
Gandhi.
Canadian horror film. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, insane.
And look,
And-
Gandhi's still playing, and so is Raiders from the previous year.